All right, all right, all right. It's one of those weeks where we don't have mommy, so it is December
Woohoo!
12th, 2021. This is Commander Chig, and I am steering the ship tonight. And as I mentioned to Nurgle, I have a tendency to fall asleep or just let go of the wheel to see what happens. So, what do I do first? I start
Wait,
by
did you just say it was December 12th?
sorry, 9th. I jumped to the future. Good God, I'm already failing. I'm pretty sure early episodes of this, that was something that Ty did like every week, gave like the wrong date. God
We
damn.
are killing it already.
Oh, God. Thanks for calling that out. I'm surprised you even know the date. I figured you quit keeping track when you reached a certain age.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, obviously. At least I had the right month. Fuck. All right, we've already dropped a number of F-bombs. We're off to a great start.
I don't know where you
we'll
have in the room to fucking talk about people being old.
I know, right? Everybody, you heard Teflon. Let's have, instead of doing the Loose Screws Discord and Loose Screws ED stuff, I'll pimp all that stuff later. Right now, we're going to go around the table and introduce everybody that's here. We'll start with Commander Teflon tonight. How are you, bud?
Hey, what's going on? I don't know if I'll be here the whole time, but I'll try.
Okay. I know sometimes you got to run to help your kids and put them to bed and do things like that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since you've been on the show, too. What, at least a month or two, maybe 10?
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Okay. What have you been up to in real life and in game?
Went on vacation, came back, did D&D stuff, and then my daughter had surgery yesterday, and she's doing fine. So just exhausted. It's been a week. It's been a long week.
Well, glad you're here. We'll jump now. We'll let, oh my God, Lieutenant Commander Data. I actually pulled that off, messed up the date, but got your name right. How have you been? What's new?
Hey, glad to be here. Not too much is new this week. Yeah, I've been able to make in-game most nights. Still, curse you still, Chig. I'm still doing that Odyssey grind.
Yeah,
And
we'll definitely get into that later.
Somehow I'm not totally miserable at the moment. But yeah, doing well.
I agree. I'm having fun with that. We'll get into that stuff a little bit later. I think I'm going to give some tips and stuff. I gave plant gunning last week. I'll do mercenary crap this week.
Plant wedding?
Let's move on to, you just heard his voice pop in there, our good buddy Dubs.
Smooth brain.
The smoothest. Hey.
What have you been doing in real life? I understand you've been working a lot. And what have you been doing in game?
All right, yeah. Real life is the same as always, suffering and work. In game, I actually don't think I played a lot of Elite last week, but I'm currently hunting for a new SRV.
A new SRV, you say?
And I am not going to Jameson to get it.
Of course not.
How are you going to find one? I'm curious.
I am literally just going to go to high population, tech systems, whatever, just stop at all the large stations and see how that goes. It's been a while.
Be fun.
It's been years since I've actually tried to find a module without any external tools whatsoever.
And not going to Jameson. All right, we'll start the timer now. Hold on, let's see. It's 7:18. Let us know how long this takes. As soon as you find one, cut in. No matter what we're doing, it's like, boys, I found one.
Okay, you'll hear it. I'm also looking for the size 7A Olympic controller too to see if that exists.
All right, Nurgle, you were cutting in there. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to tell Dub something, but I'll let him figure it out for himself.
Is there no 7A?
Okay, no, let him figure it out himself. We'll move on. Let's move on to Nurgle now. We get to find out what Nurgle's been doing in real life and in game.
Well, at work, we started this week the process of putting in a new citywide preventive maintenance and work order system. So that's been so much fun that I just
automate the putting the cover sheets on your TPS reports.
Yeah, it's about that good. It's about that good. It's it's one of those cookie cutter one size fits all that they use for everybody who might be logged into a computer. So my system is the same as the city garage's system is the same as a counting system. So you can imagine how functional it is.
Right on.
Actually, we are literally like 30 hours into what they say is going to be a 6-month process. So I shouldn't poo-poo it yet, but we're not off to a roaring start.
Well, this is a government entity, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Yeah, I know. And our IT people they're our IT people. So that I don't need to say anymore. But I've had a fair amount of time to actually get into the game. I mean, I seldom get to play more than a few hours a night, but I've been able to get in most nights and get some playing time in and get some BGS work done and some CQC. Had a little bit of issue with my router this week, but it's a few years old. It's probably time to replace that anyway. But I've had more time to play, I think, in the past 7 to 10 days than I've had in quite a while. It's been fun, and I've really been enjoying CQC.
Good. Speaking of CQC, we got our second place trophy. We managed to lock that down. Tuesday's CQC. We had a good full lobby. We actually played some team deathmatch. We had a blast from the past show up. Tiervil himself, the great Ty Worsham, showed up, and he was actually in CQC with us.
Who's that?
Yeah, I know, right? That goofy, his southern drawl showed up, and he had like company at his house, so he's trying to talk quiet and stuff. But he was there hanging out. It was good. We haven't gotten a game with him a whole lot lately, so it was a lot of fun to have him there and to blow him up repeatedly.
Amen.
So, yeah. And yeah, I mean, other than that, we had like Subsonic Slug was there, and Nurgle was there for a bit till he had router problems, and I don't know. Some of the other regulars, Trax was there. Obviously, he can't bother to show up for this show on every week, but he can show up for CQC, which I appreciate, and I believe is more important. Other than that, in real life, just doing some work stuff. It's been slow, so I've been playing more Elite Dangerous than I probably should. I've been, as Data alluded to, I'm doing the Odyssey engineering stuff and everything, and it does get, once you get the basics down, you get a suit up to 5 and a weapon or 2, then you're not pressed to get things done. And once you've got weapons and suits, everything comes a lot easier. But these engineers unlocks are, I don't know who designed these unlocks. They're the worst thing.
Yeah,
ever.
It's soul crushing. It's terrible.
It
And
is.
They're like under investigation on the issue tracker as to the rarity of some of the data that you need to unlock them too. So I kill myself too hard trying to unlock some of them.
Surface defense plans, or what is it?
Settlement defense plans, yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I have 3 of them. I don't know when I got them or how I got them, but every method I found online to try to find those does not work. I have spent hours trying to find a single settlement defense plan. If I just got a random one to pop up in a data terminal somewhere, I'll just stay there and log in and out for the next 3 days to try to get them, because you need 15 of these things, and I don't know where they exist, if they exist. So,
I mean, I've found them on accident before, and I don't remember where it was either.
yeah, like I said, I've got 3. I don't know when or how I got them. It must have been early on somehow. When you're not looking for something, you happen to stumble across them. When you need them, you'll never find them.
That's what I've taken to doing for that sort of thing.
Exactly. I see somebody's updating the notes as we go. This is nice. Is this
Well, you should know that as we speak, the Game Awards are happening.
Oh God!
So there's a lot of new things like being announced. Normally I take time to watch this for like the trailers and the debuts and stuff like that and announcements, but I did not know when it was. I had no idea.
2 parts to that you mentioning that brings up to me. A, The Expanse season 6 final season launches tomorrow, And as I've mentioned in the past, I've got a weird obsession with that show. I've watched it over and over enough times. Like I've said in the past, if it was a person, it would have a restraining order against me because I'm strangely obsessed with it. I just rewatched season 5. God damn, it's good. This is the third time through season 5. And I am super, super excited. Then Teflon mentioning the video game awards, they just announced that there's an Expanse game coming out that's going to be following Kamina Drummer, and I'm in love with her, so I'm so excited that's going to be a thing. Yep, Telltale.
Also, if you want to talk about they just announced a Star Wars game set in the High Republic era.
Yawn.
Teaser, the cinematic trailer looks really good.
Right on. Well, okay. I'll be sure to take a look at it. But man, Star Wars.
Star Wars
and Marvel have Disney knows how to just ram shit down our throats.
Don't they?
Until
I'm still having fun with both those universes. So,
and I've abandoned both recently. I can't do it anymore. It's over and over and over. Yeah, I know, right? And I'm a entertainment consuming junkie, and I can't anything Star Wars or Marvel right now. I'm on a hard break.
Oh, that's fine. Take a break. I'm gonna keep going because I'm still having fun.
Yeah,
you guys do it for me. That's fine.
The new Hawkeye show is great.
Yep, haven't watched it. Have no intention. Last thing Marvel I watched was the Loki.
Loki was really good.
Yeah, it was really good.
I can't wait for season 2 of that.
Yeah, so it's not like I watched something crappy and I'm like, oh, I'm done with this. I just was exhausted with it.
With the Marvel stuff, I'm to the point of just watching the weird ones, like the WandaVision and the Loki, like stuff that I can't tell how it's gonna play out just from the trailer.
I saw Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and I was like, this is fantastic.
It was a really good movie, and I was not expecting that much out of it.
Oh, man, I had a blast that movie. I can't wait to see more of those characters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I haven't... That one, I saw the trailer, and I'm like, nah. And the Hawkeye, I love Hawkeye. I love Jeremy Renner as an actor. Normally, I'd be all over that. And I'm like, eh. And Scarlett Johansson, I would watch her sit in... I would watch her watch paint dry, and I didn't watch Black Widow.
I watched Black Widow. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yep. And
Black Widow was great.
I'm sure I'd enjoy it. I just, for some reason, I can't. It was just, I mean, how many movies over how many years, and now it just keeps going. And I've suffered Marvel fatigue, I think, which is nuts. Because
I went back to, I'm also re-upped my Marvel Unlimited subscription, so I'm reading comics too.
And I have a Marvel Unlimited subscription. I'm catching up on a lot of the old comics and stuff. So you put me on to Cosmic Ghost Rider. Freaking badass. That's some of the funniest shit I've ever read.
Cosmic Ghost Rider is fantastic.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, anybody out there, Frank Castle becomes the Ghost Rider. Connect those dots. Jesus. Spirit of Vengeance and all that. Yeah, it's hilarious. That's one of the better reading comics I've done in a long time. So, all right. So we've jumped off topic there. I think let's do squad update, and then we can jump into talking about other more current news and stuff like that. So somebody do a Squadron noise, and then Nurg will take over.
Insert Squadron noise here. There, that's done.
All right.
So we can let our crack team of audio engineers just kind of, merge that stuff in when they do the post edit on all this great audio that they always do before they post it.
That's the crack team of highly paid audio engineers.
Yes,
absolutely.
They make the big bucks for a reason.
Yeah. It doesn't come from us, but they make the big bucks. So real quick Squadron update. Just like last week, we have kept our plate clean of other distractions so we could focus on the expansion into Balmus. Some of the guys in the squad killed it earlier this week, and we not only kicked V740 into expansion for that, we also flipped right around and got our target faction in Balmus retreating. Don't want to jinx it by saying too much about it, but everything looks really good right now. Granted, we're 8-9 days out from this actually happening, so there's plenty of time for changes, but we're in a good shape right now. And then, with the failed audio last week, we didn't get to go through what I wanted to talk about with how retreat mechanics work. So since it's timely and we just pushed a faction into retreat, retreat is a very simple mechanic. So you have native and non-native factions in a system. You can obviously only retreat a non-native because the natives are from there. And if you're really finding it difficult to determine which ones are native and non-native because there's not a lot of information in the game that would tell you that, you can go to Inara, look at the system factions, and Inara nicely has them labeled for you. In order to get a faction to retreat, you have to push their influence down to 2.5% or less. That puts them, they'll do 1 day pending retreat and then 6 active days of retreat. So it's a 7-day process. They have to be below 2.5% at the end of that process in order for them to actually retreat. Nothing in between matters. So if you get them to go into retreat, they jump back up to 10, 15% influence, and then you get them back down to 2.5% by the last day, they still retreat. And that's really all the retreat process is. After those 6 active ticks of retreat, if they're still at 2.5% or below, they're gone on the next tick. So under 2.5% to start, under 2.5% to end, nothing in between matters. That's retreat. Ba-doom-tsh.
What if we push them high enough to go into a war with another faction while they're in retreat?
Then anything that causes a conflict, so be that war, election, civil war, will block a retreat. And the interesting thing about that is retreat is one of those rare states where you lose influence while you're in it. So a retreating faction will lose 2% per day or per tick influence. If you manage to push them up where they match and go to war with another faction, they'll still lose that 2% per day, even though their influence is supposedly locked in a war. But they won't actually leave the system unless they're still in retreat when the war is over.
Oh.
But that's a real complicated edge case that almost never happens. But the only things that will stop a retreat are war or, well, it's still a war if you're invaded.
So let's say we were pushed into retreat in a system where we didn't want to. We just weren't paying attention to Woogie Joogie system or something, right?
Right.
All of a sudden somebody go, dude, you're being retreated out of this system. How would you go about avoiding being, tossed out of the system?
As long as you're above 2.5%, you won't retreat.
So all hands on deck then would be just push our influence up as much as possible.
Well, but as long as it depends on the system. So if it's a system where you're not going to be opposed, you could do all hands on deck, push it way up, do a little bit of maintenance work to bleed off the 2% per day penalty, and you'd be fine. If you thought somebody was trying to actively push you out of the system, what you would do is you would wait about 5 days till you're coming up to the very end of the retreat period, and then push everything up at the last minute so there wasn't time for you to fall back down and stop the retreat that way.
Okay.
Timing is everything.
I'm glad we've got you to worry about this shit for us, because by God, I'm surprised nobody's put together some kind of like a really comprehensive third-party tool that keeps track of all of it for you. But there's so many variables. I don't know.
There are.
I don't know how they could.
There are a lot of third-party tools out there. I don't think I would consider any one of them comprehensive because they all have different bits of information. They all display it in different ways. So you just use a combination of them and you learn how the mechanics work and you think a lot about it. And I happen to be
you think a lot about it.
Yeah, there's so much interpretation, right? And that a lot of relationships aren't nailed down. Like it's just through player testing and
it's all through player testing.
Yeah.
As far as I know, virtually none of this has been explicitly stated by FDev. Of course, the timing things, how many days it takes, that's obvious because it is what it is. But most of the other stuff has never really been explicitly covered by FDev.
I feel like if someone did put a tool out there with that much information and gave it to the average player, we would wind up fucking things up worse because we would think we understand it, get it totally wrong, and just do the opposite.
Well, if you're willing to dig around, the vast majority of this information is in Inara. Most people don't look at it.
There's so much in Inara. You could read that website for weeks and you wouldn't know everything that's there.
That's an encyclopedia of information.
Set of encyclopedias of information.
True. Yeah. And most people don't look at it.
I mean, one thing, a lot of people just don't realize how BGS determines so many things in this game. I mean, like Colin Ford over at Lave Radio is talking about how, he did a bunch of missions for Lave and then he logged off, didn't turn in his missions, then he logged back in and they were all expired. And he was like, oh, that's so frustrating. But that makes sense. So you can't just stack up a bunch of missions and turn them all in to get all of that influence at once. You need that's why those timers are there, because otherwise you could really start gaming the system pretty heavily. And that's why these things, along with it being it's a dynamic universe and it's constantly changing and everything else, but the BGS is part of that whole system. And if you ever wonder why don't they change this, it could be because FDev is lazy and doesn't know how to fix it, or it could be because it affects the BGS, and if you take out certain rules, it'll make it far more gameable than it is.
Right. And everything about the BGS rewards slow, steady work. Very little of it, because there's diminishing returns, rewards doing a whole bunch at once. So, if you really want to pound your head against the brick wall and do 70 million in bounties tonight in one system, that's great, but you could have got 95% of that by doing 15 million in bounties and then doing something else. And since there are multiple buckets and each has their own limit in terms of how you do the BGS, if you do 70 million in bounties in one system and I do 15 million in bounties, 20 or 30 in influence, in missions, and about 40 million in trade, I'm probably going to beat you because I've done an average amount in 3 buckets and you've tried to bounce off the cap in 1 bucket.
Gotcha. Are on foot missions and space missions counted the same value and stuff? Has testing been done on that?
+3 influence on foot mission on par with a +3.
We think so. I'm testing it. The people who test this, because I don't have the patience to do a lot of this testing, don't have the time. But the people who have tested this have said, one, the jury is really still out because there's not a lot of clean testing on it, but it looks like they're at least close. The only
+5 Odyssey missions.
Oh, there's not?
Oh, aren't there?
I don't know.
+4.
But the only place where there appears to be a sizable discrepancy is, ironically, what Chig's going to talk about later with combat zones on foot. Because it looks like on foot combat zones and space combat zones count about the same in terms of winning a conflict, but you get a lot more bonds from ground combat, and that can have a fairly outsized influence because bonds also count towards winning.
Yeah, I'm depending on us going to some wars in order to keep my credits up. That's going to be my credit making thing, is going to be ground CZs, because they are very, very lucrative, and if they're helping the squadron, that's what I will be doing when we go to war.
Good deal.
Though I do love flying my spaceship more, but I can fly my spaceship in CQC, and I can fly my spaceship fighting bugs. Combat zones are, they are what they are. So I'll go shoot people in the head.
Yeah.
With all rails.
But we still have to do that. When are we doing that, by the way? Me and Dubs have a bet. It's not a bet, a challenge. I asked somebody if I could fight their Type 10 with fixed weapons using my Sidewinder, and Dubs said, "Does that offer go for me?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, it does." So I'm waiting to get destroyed by a Type 10, but we just haven't gotten around to doing it yet.
Type 10 with all railguns. Only railguns.
Yeah, and I'm all railguns. You're all railguns, I'm all railguns, but you're a Type 10, I'm a Sidewinder.
All railguns, one fire group.
Okay, so he'll just blow up. That's fine. Heat works for me.
The heat.
I like this. I outsmarted him. So
Well, he may only get one shot at that Sidewinder anyway, so he might as well make it count.
yeah, I have a feeling it's going to end badly for the little gnat of a Sidewinder, but I'm game. I totally have no problem being blown up. It's fun. Like the night that we did the whole the interdicting thing, and if you could get away unengineered and stuff, I was blown up a couple times that night because science, bitches. All right, so I think we're done with Squadron talk.
Yes,
Let's
yes, we are.
move on. Let's Chig chat this week. Where the cheese at is, I'm gonna go into the on ground stuff a little bit with I don't know. From my perspective, it's how to check that box as quickly and painlessly as possible. But a lot of these help you just to get into the on ground stuff a little bit. Because I came back from my long trip, and I came back and I'm like, I'm going to do some of this ground stuff, which I hadn't done. Plant gunning doesn't count as ground stuff. Hand stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about. But so I'm going to get into this just a little bit, and you guys just cut in wherever you want. If you got a question, if I'm saying something, you're like, well, wait, I found that this way was easier. Just jump in. I'm not going to be like, what do you think? Just interrupt me when you have, and if you have any opinions on this stuff, because I'm, me, I just check boxes and I find easy ways of doing it and try to be as efficient as possible. I'm definitely not the best first-person shooter player. I can hold my own, but I definitely am not the best. So this is what I did, and when I got back, I had no suits above grade 1. Dominator or Maverick are the two suits you want. Maverick only has one primary weapon and one sidearm. Dominator has two primary weapons and a sidearm, and is beefier. So if you're going to be doing CZs and stuff to level, I would highly recommend going the Dominator and just start flying around. It sucks, but just hitting random stations, and you'll find grade 3 stuff. You'll find some grade 3 stuff that also has engineering. And that's what I fully didn't understand when I started, doing this suit stuff. It's like, okay, upgrading the suit or engineering, they're not the same thing, and they totally are not. The engineering just adds different benefits to your weapons and suits. Upgrading is straight up better shields, better armor, and weapons, just more damage.
It's like doing the upgrades. The grade increase doesn't require engineers. You can do that at the outfitting shop in the station, and that's like kind of analogous to the regular engineering on ship modules, and doing the actual different engineering modules on your equipment is like kind of like the experimental effects. That's how I think about it.
That's exactly what it is, except you don't need an engineer for the grade. You go from grade 1 to grade 5. It's just the guy who sold you the weapon, but he takes engineering mats to do it.
And that's where you get your stat increases, your armor and battery and shield
and
buffs. And
those are by far the biggest upgrade you get. I mean, it's ridiculous. A grade 4 to a grade 5 is on average about 30% more damage. I mean, it is a big jump, just that last jump from 4 to 5. So if you're thinking about jumping into, CZs, you can do pretty well if you've just got, a couple grade 3 weapons and a grade 3 suit. You'll be fine. You get grade 5, it becomes a lot easier. So that's where, before you even start doing the CZs, bind yourself grade 3 suit, couple grade 3 weapons, and then trudge through getting at least your weapons up to grade 5, or at least one weapon to grade 5. And in order to do that, you need ED Odyssey Materials Helper. Absolutely go get that. If you're going to be searching for mats, try to upgrade your suits. Data will attest to that app. I mean, it makes your life so much easier. And then, because this game always does this, you need to know the different methods of getting these different mats. Like if you're getting your, I mean, obviously restore missions, that's where you take a power regulator to a station, put it into the power center, and reboot the station. Those missions are super good for getting a bunch of little raw mats and collecting stuff. They're also great for getting power regulators. You go to a station, take one of those missions, and abandon the mission, free power regulator.
$100,000 fine.
Fine. Okay, 100,000 credits. Sorry. We have billions of credits, so yeah, 100,000 credit fine, and you get a power regulator. And all of the suit upgrades require these power regulators, like a lot of them, and they are not abundantly found. Literally, the easiest way to find it, other than that, is if you're doing a mission at another station, stealing the power regulator from the station and shutting the power down to the whole station.
You'll find power regulators at crash sites or in cabinets sometimes, but they're always degraded, and those are useless.
Yep, they're vendor trash, as you know, MMOs have known for years. You always have your vendor trash. Now, if you're at a station, if you're at a settlement, and you know, you collect all the mats there and everything else, you can't just log out, log back in, and redo it like a lot of things in Elite Dangerous. You have to get back in your ship, fly into Super Cruise, and then right back in. Literally, just jump to Super Cruise, go back, and then you can redo everything. So if you're doing a power restore mission, you can go to the base, do the whole mission, go boot the station up, mind you. Boot the station up first, loot everything in there, because then you don't have to use your cutter and your gun in order to open the doors. You'll have power to all the doors, so you can get everything, and you can do the data ports. Once you loot the entire settlement, you go back, pull the power regulator, jump into Super Cruise, go back down to the planet, and you can reloot everything, you know, turn the power back on and get everything free. But you can't just log out and log back in. It won't work. But if you go to points of interest like impact sites, irregular markers, minor wreckage, those 3 type of things you go to. If you fly into Super Cruise and come back, the stuff won't be back. You have to log out to desktop at those sites. If you log to desktop, log back in, then you can use the data port again, you can collect the mats again, and things like that. So once again, wonderful FDev, you know, compelling gameplay where we're logging to desktop and logging back in order to just farm a mat. Now, I have actually found recently that logging to desktop doesn't necessarily work all the time either, unless I hop back in my SRV. If the data is on your character, sometimes it doesn't stick if you log out. You'll get new data, but the data that you got the first time won't be there. Inconsistency is their only consistency, is all I can say. It's just a bit weird, but that's on the mats in farming, and you got to do a little bit of research. If you have questions, join our Discord at what is our Discord? Discord.io/loose-screws. Come ask questions. Everybody here will help you out. Data will hold your hand and teach you how to do everything.
At you on the bottom when you're done.
There you go. Tussle your hair if you like. Now, once you get, you know, a suit to 5 and at least one weapon to 5, then you can go do your CZs. And it took me 350 CZs from, straight up rookie, whatever it's called, defenseless, to get to elite. And it's all about the number of kills you get, the credits you're farming as you're doing this, the bonds. Every time you're killing people, you're collecting credits. Easiest way I found to do this is I went with the laser rifle. You could do it with the rocket launcher also, would probably work pretty good. And first engineering thing I put on my suit was jumping, so I could get up to a high point so I could see the drop spots. As new troops come in, they come in on the Vulture and they drop down squads of 5 or 6 at a time in different spots. And if you're on a good map, you can be up high and you can see those spots. And with the laser rifle, you can just tag all 5 or 6 of those troops and you're getting the bonds when they die on everyone. So you can collect enough bonds that each CZ you can get, I got up to 16, 17 million per CZ. Now, if I was actually playing the CZ properly, where I was trying to get the checkpoints, Delta, Alpha, and do the objectives. If I'm doing the objectives, I'm not shooting every NPC that appears. I'm actually playing the objective. But if I'm stripping the shields from all of the squads that are dropping, the other NPCs on your team are cleaning them up, and you're going to win anyway super quickly. And without getting the objectives, they're not losing resources, and they're going to continue to drop more troops along the way. So getting the objectives actually kind of will slow down your race to elite. So I would just, as I said, I sat up there and just sniped away. Be careful, those plasma sniper rifles, 2 shots will kill you. If it's one of those sharpshooters and you're not paying attention, they could snipe you from a long ways away. So just be moving around a little bit, because those move so slow. If you're moving even just a little, they're not going to hit you twice in a row, and you're going to be fine. So that's what I say. Snipe as many as you can. And secondly, just avoid dying. Because if you die, then you end up on the stupid shuttle, and it can take a full minute to 90 seconds to get back in the fight. And during that time, how many enemies could you have tagged or killed? And that'll slow you down. So I'm sure I could have done it faster than I did if I was a better player. But 350 CZs really isn't that bad, not compared to the thousands and thousands of CQC matches I'm having to play to get to elite. But those are my advice. Odyssey Material Helper for 1. Get a weapon and your suit to 5. And I like the laser rifle. You could do it with the grenade launcher, I'm sure, to tag as many targets because of the splash damage. But the laser rifle is very, very efficient. And if you strip shields off, your teammates will murder the shit out of the NPCs for you. One last tip. If you see another player, you may ask, how will I see another player? Because as players, we like to jump a lot. And the NPCs don't ever jump. They're always running. They will find staircases. They don't jump onto rooftops. You will see something jumping, and you're like, oh my God, that's a real player. Super easy to kill a regular player. Stop jumping. They won't know that you're not an NPC until you get close to them, or, and you can just murder the shit out of them because they're jumping in the air. I ran into real players a whopping 3 times in those 350 matches, bumped into a real player 3 occasions, and just murdered the ever-loving crap out of them because I just pretended I was an NPC and just with grade 5 weapons. So that's my tip there also, is another player in there, stop jumping. So any questions?
I think that was comprehensive.
Was it? I try to be helpful.
For assets, those little tradable things that have the cool symbols beside them, the chemicals, the circuits, the tech, I'd go for those power on missions where you can loot the bases after you turn the power on. Just watch out for scavengers to show up. Either they're already there before you land, or you can just shoot them with missiles from your ship. Sometimes they show up while you're there. And for the other mats, like the goods, if you've already said this, stop me. For the other mats, like the goods and the data, I've just been looking for missions, mostly material rewards.
I was just looking at my notes. That's the missions are actually probably the easiest way to collect a lot of mats. What I found right now, though, is very helpful is go to an anarchy system. Once you have grade 5 suits and weapons, go to an anarchy system and just go murder everybody in an installation. You get an extraction installation, a mining installation or an agricultural. You'll get a lot of the things you need. You'll get your manufacturing stuff. Well, that's data. You'll get I'm trying to think of what. Oh, suit schematics. Yeah, the locker in power rooms is where I've gotten more suit schematics than anywhere else. And it doesn't matter what kind of installation. It's in the power room. Make sure you use your torch and open the cabinet in the power rooms. That's a good place. But as Data said, a lot of times you need something very specific like patrol reports or something like that. Or manufacturing instructions you can find a lot of are really good. Definitely look at the mission board. You'll find a mission that has, that'll pay you 5 of those. Yeah, 2 of those missions takes you 20 minutes, and there's 10 which will take care of most of your upgrade type stuff. A lot of key friction points, manufacturing instructions, because like all of your weapon upgrades need those. Ionized gas is one that can be a friction point that can be hard to find at times. For engineers, opinion polls. Good freaking God. That's
Kit
a pain.
Fowler to unlock him.
Yeah, Kit Fowler, one of the first freaking engineers, and it's a massive grind. And if you like running missions, that's what I do. And it helps if you have ED Odyssey Material Helper, because you can have wish lists of what you need to get an upgrade done. So then you go to the mission board and look for specific things that you need. Power regulators, suit schematics, weapon schematics, all of those things are good mission board rewards you can collect pretty quickly. So, all right, I think that's it.
Don't try to rush it. If you want to farm it, just hit it. Just hit it every time you play, and you'll get stuff.
Actually, let's go back to the BGS. It's a great way to help your BGS because you can turn on whatever factions you need to be boosting or not. You just turn those factions off or those factions on and just run missions for those particular factions. So you can be grabbing the match specific rewards, but you're still going to be getting influence, just lesser so.
Yeah.
But you can be helping your BGS by doing that in one of your systems.
Yeah, and while you're at it, you can take power on missions for the enemy and then keep the power regulators.
Yep. So you're tanking the enemy. It's perfect. Win-win.
We like that.
Always. I don't know if it's still like this, but I noticed that the power regulators are marked as stolen in my storage. And instead of having a stack of them, there's a separate slot for every single one of the stolen power regulators.
Every single one of them is its own separate thing.
So there's definitely a lot more data being tracked on those power regulators than just the fact that it's there and that it's stolen, since they're
I still use
separated.
them for engineering. Yeah.
Okay, here's a giant pet peeve. When you go to sell your junk to the vendor, and why are the lists not all in alphabetical order? Have you noticed that? It goes like in alphabetical order for like randomly, a dozen of them, and then all of a sudden like 4 are in alphabetical order, and then all of a sudden the next bunch is in alphabetical order for no reason. Just put the whole fucking list in alphabetical order.
Because I'm tracking the list of useless stuff in ED Odyssey Materials Helper, which is alphabetical.
Yeah, and then their list is it's alphabetical for a stretch, and then it switches. Well, then it goes back to A and is in alphabetical again. Then switch. Oh my God! Why do they do stuff like that? And how does that even happen? It's got to be just a database that's producing that list, right? They
didn't teach them alphabet in bartender school, I guess.
Yeah, but it's not random. It's like some of it is. I don't know. It boggles my brain. One other quick pet peeve: when you're in a station and you run to the elevator, if I get in the far right elevator, I should appear in the station in the far right elevator. If I pick the second from the left and I go up, I should come out on the second to the left. I should not be coming out of a different elevator than I hopped in. Just saying.
You know what the funny part about the elevators is? Even when you can't instance with someone who was Lark Shadow, I couldn't instance with, we couldn't see each other, but he saw the elevators open when I came in and out of them.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make any fucking sense?
How does any of this make any sense?
Dude, here's a fun one. When you're crouched and you're moving, you'll see your body, shadows of your body, as though you're standing next to your head. It freaks me out. I keep thinking until I got used to it and knew that it was just a stupid graphical snafu on their part. I always thought that I was being attacked, but it's the fact that when you're crouched, your body is still rendering apparently next to your head.
Yeah.
Found a scorpion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was 42 minutes it took you?
Yeah, so I went to like 4 different military systems, and then I was like, let me check the planetary port, since there's the AX weapons have to be bought on the planetary ports. So the first planetary port I went to, boom, there they are.
That's what I was going to tell him earlier, but I wanted to see if he'd find out.
Nice. You wasted like how many minutes of my time?
42, apparently.
You should thank Nurgle.
Thanks, Nurgle. You're such a bro.
I'm glad I could tell.
He's such a dad.
That's what he's here for.
He's so
Junior has
old.
to learn his own lessons.
All right, so now we got Galnet Recap. I think we have a recording by Bard, but does anybody have it? I don't.
Nope.
I'm pretty sure Trax is just gonna have to insert here.
All right, where are we? 45 minutes in? Somebody make a note that 45 minutes in, we'd have to add that. So,
Hey, Trax,
all right.
put Bard here. Insert Bard here.
Right now.
Insert Bard here.
Welcome aboard the Tinhadium Express. Please ignore any tingling sensations you might feel. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep this one kind of short. Work's been kind of crazy, really tired, and I'd really just like to go to bed. So let's get started. The NMLA's boys aren't back in town. Captain Milo Castile boards the Steel Majesty, arresting and killing NMLA operatives, preventing reunification with Theta 7. Pretty cool right there. Just getting shit done, kicking ass, taking names. The only thing I found kind of weird about this community goal that wrapped up is that the Imperial faction in control of this whole thing agreed to pay pilots who aided terrorists. I mean, I get it. Okay, fine. It's part of the gameplay. But really? Whatever. Let's just move on. The Empire is allowed to continue existing after Emperor Arissa Langley Duval passes away eventually. We all know Aisling isn't. Well, she might. I don't know. We all know Aisling might not just even take the throne, but anyways, Lady Astrid, Astrid Minerva Duval, wife of Hadrian Duval, gives birth to a son. And the community goal was to deliver rare goods in celebration of said childbirth. It's about really all there is. The reward is either free ships or discounted stuff, depending on your level of participation. But moving on. Scrivener's scramble to scatter leaves Orion crying. The Knowledge Core and all heavy-handed hints at Guardian knowledge are no longer available because the Scriveners have disappeared. This, of course, has raised concerns over their survivability, as a clan that survived for the past 200 years can suddenly no longer survive. I can't imagine why that could possibly be. Anyways, moving on to the final story, kind of a short news week. The Fatalists are pissed and they're not allowed to die the way they want to. That is the Fatalists, of course, being the Far God cult, being held hostage by Theta 7. And ACT is somehow attempting to resolve the situation with as few casualties as possible. How that's going to work, I have absolutely no idea. something I'm sure is going to happen, and it's going to be great. Maybe. I don't know. I'm actually just super tired, and that's all I've got for Galnet stuff. Now, CG, community goal prediction. Wow. Here we go. Thargoid stuff. That's all I have written down. I mean, the invasion is getting stronger, so I don't know. We had two topics this past week. It was the Animale and the Empire, the Scriveners, but that's it. That's all we had. So now we've got what? I don't know. I don't know what to go off that. So yeah, Thargoid stuff. I am super tired. Y'all have a good night.
All right, dev news. All right, let's cover the dev news for the week. Their streams and all that. Then we can get into some discussion stuff here. Tuesday stream, there wasn't one. So there was nothing there. Wednesday's stream, they had a pre-recorded SRV Stunts extravaganza that they did where they
did they put one in orbit?
I actually no, they did not. They should have.
Well, then I'm not impressed.
For a change, I actually watched this because I knew that the SRV, the new, is it actually officially called the Scorpion or what is it called?
Yeah, it's the Scorpion.
Looks more like a beetle, like a water beetle or something. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really look like a scorpion to me. It doesn't have a tail.
It should have a tail, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
I digress. Yeah, the gun could have been a big freaking tail that came up over the top. That would have been cool.
What I want to know is the SRV that was shown in that piece of art. What was that?
I don't know.
Where's it at?
Hopefully it's going to be coming soon.
Another variant?
Yeah.
I think that they need a bunch of variants. They really do.
Yeah.
I mean, Alec Turner loves SRVs. They need to give him as many as possible. And I think that I don't know if he won or not. I said I watched it, but I don't remember when they actually determined the winner.
He came
I think
in second place.
Yeah, the guy who shot the Thargoid, right? Ended up winning.
I think so, yeah.
Alec Turner's was far more impressive. And oh my God, the skill on what he did. I'm like, wow. And then finding the right location. Alec, hats off, buddy. You know my feelings on the SRV. Yeah, you won that night. I don't think it was even close. Anybody can jump in the air and shoot a Thargoid if they want. Not everybody
were paid off.
Yeah, not everybody can find that perfect launching spot to do like you did and then barrel roll, turn around backwards, drive backwards, jump back in the air, barrel roll, flip over, and land perfectly on the other side. It was very impressive. If you want to see SRV's skill, go watch the stream. But then at the end of that, they showed that the amazing, reveal. They were okay. During the stream, there were a couple of odd things they did. One was they kept talking about the commander or whatever it was coming up later in the episode, and they were showing these short clips of basically just a commander in a flight suit, and they were making it seem like he was I don't know, something amazingly special.
I mean, the bit was the Stig from Top Gear.
Is that what it was? That's what they were doing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's fine. Went over my head because I'm a redneck American who hasn't paid enough attention to Top Gear. But then the joke also ARF with the Raoul thing.
That was out of nowhere.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know. Was he like in a pre-meeting? He's like, I'm going to keep talking about my mentor or somebody, the greatest driver I ever saw, and I'll just keep making stuff up. Well, he obviously had all these little witticisms and words of wisdom from Raoul written down, and he was ready to use them. But I'm not missing a joke. That was literally just out of left field.
Maybe it started on a previous stream because I don't usually watch them either. I don't know.
Okay, none of you guys know who Raoul is. ARF's.
I appreciate the dedication to the bit that
he did stick to it. I will admit, I did start to chuckle because I don't want to say it was pity laughs, but it was to the point of like, I can't believe he's going to keep going with this because it wasn't like it was getting a great response from the other people on the stream even. It was like, they're like, oh God, more Raoul. So, all right, Raul's the greatest. So the stream was a bit odd, and I'm glad I wasn't the only one that missed the joke there. So that was Wednesday.
A bit long.
Yeah, it
overall.
did seem to go a bit long. They could polish that turd a little bit, and it would be
okay.
more entertaining. Right. But I'm not going to complain. They definitely put in some work, and good job, guys. More of that.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with another one. More stunts and stuff, but definitely shrink it down. They talked too long on each one. They should have just gone, oh, that was good. All right, some scores, and moved on to the next one and kept it moving. But that could have also been because everybody knew that the SRV reveal was coming.
Yeah.
So we kind of, it's like, oh, come on, get on with it.
That's why I was watching.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So then that was yesterday. And then today they dropped patch 9. The two big things with this were obviously the new SRV, and second was the multi-limpic controller. Let's start with the limpic controller. Nurgle, you were talking about it earlier, and you ingested definitely a little bit of salt on this. You might need a glass of water from what you were reading earlier. So
yeah, I mean,
tell us the downsides of this.
The use case for the limpic controllers is going to be pretty small. I don't want to say they're useless, because I can certainly envision some situations where you would use them, but like the Class 7 Universal Limpic controller.
To preface what you're going to say, the name of the game with these modules was going to be Balance.
Right.
How are they going to balance having them all combined to make them a little bit, in some ways, worse than the individual modules? Okay.
Right. So it's like the 7A Universal Limpic controller, the do everything controller, is 150 tons. So if you were thinking about putting that on your exploring ship, you could kiss that goodbye, because that's probably going to cost you 5 light years of jump range.
Well, let's just first.
I'm actually looking at it right now. It costs 6 light years of jump range on my exploration Anaconda. I'm in the menu. I'm looking at the 7A right now.
Wow.
It is incredibly inconvenient for it to be that.
What did you have
heavy.
in that 7 slot?
That was my fuel scoop. So
Okay,
I had the fuel scoop,
okay.
with size 6 cargo rack with individual size 5 and 3 limpets depending on their purposes. What I'm planned on doing was the fuel scoop was going to become a size 6. Cargo was going to get knocked down to the size 5 and 4 slots, since when they're empty they don't weigh anything, and then I was going to take that size 7, do it all controller, which I was going to be okay with a small penalty to effectiveness of the limpets, but
yeah.
The repair capacity is 310 on a size 7 limpet. Excuse me, what?
How does that compare? I don't have a point of reference for that.
Shit. I guess I could go look at the other one. I don't have one of my ships on me, but I can look at the repair limpet controller that's currently outfitted to my ship.
So
a 5D can repair 310. So you're basically making it a size 5 into 7. I mean, I guess it's not terrible, but I feel like a size 7 limpet should be able to repair more than 310.
Yeah.
What percentage of your hull would that be?
Not much.
So, and by the way, there's a link to a Reddit post in the show notes that has pictures of almost all the limpet controllers and how the fire group assignment works, and has a lot of the details on this. Which is what I'm using.
I don't know if this applies to all of it, but the limpet lifetime on the universal controller is infinite.
Because it shows the lifetime of a prospector limpet.
But everything else is still limited.
And this has already been tested. Limpets expire. But it's apparently, for duration, it shows the longest possible duration of any limpet it can fire, which for a prospector is infinite until you disable it.
That's booty.
Stupid. But the
Booty.
size 3 and the like I said, the post I'm reading did an analysis of all of the size 3 mining controllers. So here's your problem with the mining controller, for reference, does prospector limpets and collector limpets. The size 3 has a maximum of 4 limpets. Well, if you fire off 4 prospector limpets, you cannot fire off a controller limpet until you reset the module to destroy those limpets. Conversely, if you have 4 collectors out, you can't fire off another prospector until you kill off one of the collector limpets, which
That
is
is
poo-poo.
yeah, that's stupid.
And
'Cause then
it's
that makes you wind up just getting 2 limpet controllers anyways, and it's like, all right, well, why did I need the multi-limpet controller?
right. But wait, it gets worse. So there's apparently not a Class A mining limpet controller. At least one had not been found at the time this article was posted. So if you're laser mining, a Class A prospector is very important because it increases the maximum
yield.
amount of yield you can get from an asteroid. So if you're using like a Class C limpet controller, you're getting half as much out of the rock than as if you had an A. So that's bad. And then I want to give complete credit to this guy on Reddit, Ovine Aviation, who posted this, and because this is perfect. So, and this is a quote: if the 3C mining controller has 4 active, that would be the same as having a prospector with 1 limpet, a 1C, and a size 5C 3 limpet collector. Separately, these weigh 21.3 tons before engineering. The size 3 mining controller weighs 52 tons. So it is more than twice as heavy as the individual controllers would be, and you can't engineer it right now to make it lighter. And you could engineer the individual ones. Now, we were kind of talking before we started recording that on a mining ship, weight is probably not your most critical component, which is true. But if those weights hold true for the other multi-limpet components or multi-limpet controllers, that could be a problem.
Oh, it's a big problem. It's a huge problem because I really wanted to put it on my exploration Anaconda. But going back to the repair capacity, they do have a 7 repair at this station, and it's 450 for your standard size 7 repair limpet. So I guess the 310 is
more. Yeah.
It isn't horrible. I mean, it's in line with a size 5, but the weight kills it. Just if they just made it lighter weight, like I wouldn't even be upset about the fact that it's not going to be able to. I mean, this is an exploration ship. Like I'm only going to need those limpets in like extreme use cases. So if they just make it engineerable, so I can make it lightweight, then honestly, I think it'll be fine. The size 7 multi-use, anyways. The other ones, no, the mining ones are going to need a much deeper rework than the others.
But the big thing that has to happen is either the weight has to come down some, or they have to make it where you can put lightweight on it, because the weights for all of them are just unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't give a shit if my mining one was heavy, but it needs to have a higher limpet count. Because, I mean, I need a lot of collectors. So my Type 9 is not going to give a shit if I load it down with a 300-ton limpet controller, as long as it can do what I want it to.
Right. But for the other ones, weight is going to be a big consideration.
Oh, yeah. Like the Xeno ones. Like, I'm not putting that heavy motherfucker on my stripped down shieldless Mamba. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to wrap my head around it a little bit. I can definitely see where the issues are, but at the end of the day, I'm glad they're in the game, and it makes for some decisions. I mean, if you're not super deep into it and in theory crafting the ideal thing, it might just work for what you need it to do. I don't, and all of us use specialized ships, so these aren't really something we would use.
Right.
And for a newer player, I mean, it's kind of like a prepackaged thing that it tells you what it's for. It's got what you need. Maybe I haven't really looked into them, but at least that idea makes sense to me. Like, you need to go mining. Okay, pick out the mining limpet controller. It's got what you need, even if it's not great.
It's almost 8 million credits for the 7A multi-Olympic controller, which I know I'm
That
bitching
could
about
affect
it,
a
but I'm
newer
buying
player.
2 of them right
Yeah.
now just to have storage.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any real problem with that. I mean, the patch had other issues, like I don't know, fire groups were gone when I logged on, and when I tried to
Yes.
put them back in, it wouldn't let me do more than one fire group. I had to log out and log back in. Then I was able to fix fire groups.
That has been fixed because I just had to redo some of mine, and I was able to redo them all.
Okay, yeah, that I mean that once again, the bugs that they end up with. What was the Olympic controller because the new fire
Exactly.
group stuff. Duh.
Exactly.
Oftentimes I'm like, how did this bug come about?
Oh.
That's where that was because they had to change the way fire groups worked. Interesting. Well, that makes
I mean, it
sense.
is nice to look at my fire group and see that many living controllers on here, but
But how did they not catch
Because
that in
FDev.
quality control?
Because FDev.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I'm puzzled that they do stuff like this at times. It just boggles my mind because it would have taken a half dozen players. They could have been like, hey, Lave Radio, can you guys test this out for us? We're going to give you the patch tonight, and you guys just log in and see what's busted. They'd be like, dude, my fire groups are gone. Dude, I knew 2 seconds in, I hopped to a system and I couldn't use my discovery scanner. I'm like, why is the discovery scanner not? It took me 2 seconds, one jump.
as soon as I logged in, my ship was sitting on the carrier, and it was like, "Hey, no fire groups defined." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that how I don't know. They need to do just a tiny bit of quality checking, just to log into the game once. Does anybody at FDev play this game? I don't know.
I mean,
And that's what
it's
kills me.
entirely possible that they knew that was a thing, and they probably just didn't feel like fixing it because honestly, it's a very minor problem.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they say in the patch notes, fix fire? You'll need to fix fire groups when you log on.
Because you'll figure it out.
Who knows? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but if they, I don't know. It comes back to communication, I think. Which
Yes.
brings me to what I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit tonight was, because a lot of people, they did not communicate that they did not specifically say this wasn't going to be in Horizons. A lot of people thought they had said it was going to be in Horizons, but nobody can produce any evidence that they said that. I think people misheard.
I thought it was. I misremembered the multi-Olympic controller being in Horizons when I thought it was the SRV.
Yeah. And I totally understand how people might have misinterpreted that, but it was a lot of people are stating it as fact. Oh no, it's coming to Horizons 2. It's coming to Horizons 2. And I was like, okay, nobody has said it. I thought ARF said something about something coming to Horizons, but that was the Olympic controller. Yeah. Now, what I want to ask, obviously that was a communication issue. They should have probably said it wasn't coming. And I've got some opinions on this too. But what do you guys think about, when they put out new things, what should go to Horizons and what shouldn't? Should Horizons players be upset that this was not given to them in Horizons? Let's go Dubs first. Dubs is not here.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm here. So are you asking my opinion on how I feel about it not being in Horizons?
Yeah, well, 2 parts of this. First, the SRV not being in Horizons, and second, the Olympic controller going to Horizons. Why one and not the other?
I don't really have an answer because it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Did they come out with a reason that did they say it was intentional or not? That it didn't. Are we sure it wasn't just a
Today?
mistake?
No, they did come out today that it was the new SRV is not intended. Sally posted on the forum specifically note that the SRV is not intended to go to Horizons.
Why?
Jake's asking you.
I was asking you.
I mean, I don't have an answer. It doesn't make sense to me either. Like,
So
I feel like
you think that's a crap that it should have gone to
yeah, no,
Horizons?
it,
Or are
it
you okay
definitely
with it?
should have. There's no reason
Okay.
that it wouldn't have. It doesn't make much sense to me that it wouldn't have.
And
I would say
disagree
the
with
reason
you.
is it's another selling point to get people to buy
Yeah,
Odyssey.
Right. That's
That's the
what it
easy answer.
is. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
It's either a technical
is-
limitation or they want to push you to the new expansion, which
Yeah, is that, and it's obviously not a technical limitation because we already have an SRV in Horizons, and we can already,
Yeah.
So I don't see it as a technical limitation unless it's the whole physical multi-crew thing, and that only does that. But why they wouldn't set it up like a ship in Horizons, because you can multi-crew in with somebody down on a planet's surface, sitting in their ship. Why? That's a possibility, I suppose.
Maybe.
But
I don't know.
my question more outside of the technical is if it was possible to give Horizons, should they have?
Yes.
They definitely should have. There's nothing about the Scarabs gameplay that has a valid reason to not go to the Horizons platform.
Other than people with Horizons haven't paid for
Or
Odyssey.
Yeah,
maybe it's because there's something with it that, there's something about it that consoles can't have it. So they're like, all right, well, if the console Horizons can't have it, then PC Horizons can't have it.
That's getting back to the technical side of it. What about you, Teflon? What do you think? Yes, no? Should Horizons have had it?
Yes, I think so. I think they should have it. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than I understand why they're doing it. They want to push people towards the new expansion. They're trying to get people to pay for new content.
And see, I'm with you on that. That's why this, honestly, I understand, like you said, fully understand why they didn't, is to get people to buy Horizons or buy Odyssey so they can get the new SRV. But this makes so much sense to force them to give to Horizons, to get Horizons players to log back in to play the game. Then maybe they'll buy Odyssey. You know what I'm saying? This is like that morsel that you'd give. Whereas the Olympic controller to me is more of a pay to win kind of thing. It's an actual gameplay loop. We're finding out that it's weak, so it's not really a pay to win, but it actually affects gameplay. So that one you kind of had to go in both because it's not a pay. It would be a pay to win. It's a module that you buy Odyssey, you get that would give you an advantage over Horizons players if it wasn't as imbalanced as it was. With how heavy it is and how you guys were complaining about it, they could have just given it to Odyssey players. But I understand why they didn't. You got to keep Odyssey non-pay to win. In the SRV, I can see how that's not necessarily a pay to win because there's no real ground combat for Horizons, really. But then again, I honestly think if they'd have given it to Horizons, how many people who hadn't logged in a few months would have logged on just to try driving that SRV today and seen what it was like, and then been like, "Hey, this is kind of cool. Let's go." I might change my mind and buy Odyssey now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a really good point.
Has anyone answered what happens when you log out of Odyssey and into Horizons while sitting in the SRV?
No,
But
not that I've seen.
We're about to find out, boys.
Good. We can do this live on the show. Well, recorded on the show.
We'll do it live.
That's the whole. It's
Fucking thing sucks.
the decisions they
log in.
make. I can't wrap my head around the decisions. But that's like, there's a new SRV today and a new Olympic controller that were the highlights of this expansion. I didn't bother to go buy either one or even see what they did. They're just a couple more shovels thrown in the sandbox that if I need, I'll go try. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's this game in a nutshell, I guess.
I tried out the new SRV taking out scavengers for power restore mission.
And how did it work? I was curious about that versus infantry.
What do you mean?
The
how it worked
scavengers
versus
on
infantry?
foot. Yeah. How did
Oh.
it work?
It worked okay. So the plasma turret or whatever it is on top, it's like a Gatling gun. Increase when you hold the trigger down, it increases the fire rate. It has to spool up, but it's always
Oh, really?
firing.
Okay. Cool.
And it's not super accurate. There's a lot of spread in the shot. It gets a little bit more accurate the longer you fire. So you can hit a person from a decent distance.
Was
It's
it
not
was
as
it
accurate
easy?
as
Is it easier in the Scarab?
Oh, the Scarab's dead
easier.
accurate when you target somebody.
Exactly. When you
Yeah.
got the turret.
Scarab's more accurate, definitely. But you got the missile launcher on this that's pretty fun too. That's a one hit kill or one hit shields, and then another hit to take out their armor.
On foot dudes.
Yeah. So this thing's definitely probably kind of geared towards other vehicles or little drones that fly around. The drones
I
fly around.
Wonder how it does against ships.
You can dumbfire or lock on with with it.
I'd be
It'll
curious
lock
how-
on.
So
But you
it
can
kicked me to
fire it.
orbit, but the Scorpion is still in my ship. I can look at the Scorpion
And you're in
my
Horizons.
in Horizons. I can look down at my the panel by your knees,
Okay,
and
so it
you can
stays
see it
in
right
there.
there. SRV Scorpion.
What if you land on a planet without atmosphere? A Horizons planet. Would you be
That's
able?
what I'm fixing to do. I'm fixing to
Yeah.
fly down to this planet's surface. I'm going to land on it and see if I can deploy the Scarab or Scorpion.
Scorpion, yeah. See, I wonder how the Scorpion, the missiles and stuff against settlement defenses, the guns that you come up against as you're coming in.
The sound design is nice. I like it. The sound of the engine as you're
That's a
driving.
no-brainer.
One thing,
Um,
so the jump boosters, like when you set all 4 pips to engines and you're trying to fly, you're not doing that in the Scorpion.
It's super weak.
Absolute trash. Bad thrusters.
It's enough to get you unstuck from a rock.
How fast is it with 4 pips when you're?
It's slow too. It's not as fast as the
meters
Scarab
per second.
15?
Yeah, but
gross. It looks
drives
fast.
better. It drives better.
does.
The traction on it is nice.
Yeah.
You don't slide around.
It's heavier.
Wait. If I only do
accelerates-
half throttle on a Scarab, I'm not sliding around either. If I'm traveling at 15 in a Scarab, I'm going to handle like a dream.
That's true.
Maybe.
It feels like it handles better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the weapons or the engine's capacitor and the boosting was just not there. And when I went to the the turret view, I'm kind of disappointed that the barrel didn't rotate. It sounds like it should have a tri-barrel that rotates, but it doesn't.
Oh, I'd assumed that it did. I didn't even pay
Nope,
attention.
it does not rotate.
Oh,
Doesn't have the
hell.
animation. Disappointed.
But I don't know.
It's a
Overall
Wankel
positive, I would
rotary.
say.
The firing chamber rotates, not the barrels.
My God, looking at it parked right next to the Scarab, I would have thought it was faster than the Scarab. It looks like it should be a quick little zip around thing.
It won't let me deploy it from the ship. It's just the options just grayed out.
Okay, so it's just a dead module. It's still in your ship, but it's just dead.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
It's just
They should have just given it to Horizons.
They should have. I mean, I know the thinking was there's no need for a combat SRV in Horizons because there's no surface combat. And also, if they want the surface combat, they can buy Odyssey and do it. But if they had just given it to Horizons players, it would have been such a...
I want to see somebody at a Guardian site with it. Fighting the skimmers or whatever they're called. The Guardian.
And it would have been such an incentive to get Odyssey. So that you're like, oh yeah, there's this cool new SRV. It's for ground combat. How do I do ground combat? Well, you have to buy Odyssey. All right, I'm buying Odyssey.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see this sort of thing more and more. More stuff's going to come to Odyssey. Horizons is going to go
and I fully understand it should, but then they should something like this is a good thing to bring a Horizons player back in to test drive and be like, oh yeah, I want to go do that ground combat because this is cool.
Right.
Instead of forcing me, I got to spend $30 to even test drive it. This is, I don't know. They did it backwards in my opinion.
I mean, I'm also the mindset of It's $30, $40, whatever the fuck the cost is of the expansion. Like, if you've been playing this game long enough to even think about it, you may as well just spend the money. Just buy it. It's so much. It's not that expensive.
And I'll admit right now, I'm having a lot of fun with the Odyssey side of it. I avoided it for quite a while. I didn't want first person shooter in my space game. I'm glad that they added it, but I would have much rather had more space flight stuff. If we were doing atmospheric landings where we were having to use some kind of skill to not F up our ship as we're flying through atmospheres, or atmospheric combat in our ships, there was so much other stuff I wanted. Ship interiors, so much stuff I wanted other than this pew-pewing, but I'm having fun with it. I don't know, even the tedium of the engineering, it's a pain, but once you get it figured out, it's like almost everything in this game. It's super hard to learn, and it's so frustrating. Like some of these on-foot missions, these sneaking around missions and stuff, when you first start doing them, it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I just died again. Why? And then you start to figure out how it works, and it's actually kind of fun. And you can do missions in a lot of different ways.
Another thing I'd like to see with this Scorpion Combat SRV, they should make it to where as you're flying down to the surface, you can select it, hit deploy while the ship's still flying. It could open the landing bay or the bay door and let you be in the seat because you still have the same joystick and throttle inside the SRV, allow you to finish flying the ship down, hit the deploy button, ship takes off to orbit, the fucking SRV plummets to the ground.
That would be badass.
That would have been super cool for sure. Write a letter to your local congressman. He'll
get right on that.
He'll get right on that.
He'll be like, "Shut up, nerd."
Shut up, nerd. All right. I don't know. Any other discussion on this? We've actually gotten almost a full-length show out of this tonight without Mommy here.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. There's still the bug I read about where the missiles in the new SRV do not restock when you restock. So that's annoying because I just dropped into a combat zone to try it out.
Oh no!
Did they
have no missiles? Send some quick.
Are you crazy?
Restock? You mean like just docking it on the ship, or
no? It is when you go to a station and I hit restock my ammo.
Oh, then how are you supposed to restock it?
Buy a new one.
I mean, honestly, the SRV is not that expensive. You could just blow it up when you're done with it every time.
It's disposable.
That's why I got a size 6 SRV bay inside my Anaconda, because they were disposable. Back when I was doing the crystal shard farming, there was one of those plants, I don't remember, like every single one of them was down in the fucking middle of a freaking ravine. So I would just jump down there, do what I was going to do, blow up the SRV. Oh, I'm in orbit. All right, we're out of here.
I think that was ruthium that's down in the bottom of all those pits.
Everything's disposable. It's a fucking video game.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right. Well, I don't know. I'm going to shout out our Discord is discord.io/loose screws. Come join us. Have some fun. Our buddy Crash is we're planning a PvP event coming up real quick. That's not CQC. I think we're going to try to keep CQC going as best we can. Getting the trophy shouldn't be the end of our CQC fun because we get a good group of people together and have fun with that. So if we get some of that going, also come go visit the website Loose Screws. That's loosescrewsed.com. You can buy mugs, yoga pants, t-shirts,
yoga pants. Buy me some of those.
Whatever you want. Get the yellow ones, man. They look good on you, I'm sure.
That's not a visual I needed.
Other than that, cheese of the week, I'm just going to go. I've got my cheese advent calendar back this year. My wife found one finally, and I'm just going to end with a cheese joke tonight. What was Marlon Brando's cheesiest film? The Gouda Father. And that is how we're going to end the show.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Right.
I hate you.
I know you do. Love you too, buddy.
I just had an idea. I should make a t-shirt design that says, I got bullied by Teflon. All I got was this lousy t-shirt.
You should do it. You should do it. I want to get my wife a cricket for Christmas. So
I got bullied by Teflon and had to pay to prove it.
That's better.
Yes.
I like it. We might have to let's put that on the agenda.
You
Next week, I don't know if Trax will be back. He said he was going to miss 2 or 3 shows this month, so we might be scrounging again next week. I think you guys should vote in Discord for which one of us should have to helm this thing. I'm putting it on Dubs.
I am the worst option for that. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Smooth brain.
Don't you know? I'm stupid.
Don't you know? You just
Don't
went
you
over
know?
Minnesota on it. Don't you know, eh?
Jeez.
Don't you know?
Yeah. Hey,
Don't you know?
I've been flying. I've been driving this new SRV around since for the last 5 minutes, and this thing does not. You never notice like you hit a rock with one of the wheels on the old SRV and it goes into a fucking tumble.
Yeah.
This thing just eats it. It just goes right over it like it wasn't there, and then it fucking climbs almost vertical walls.
Nice.
So there's that.
I heard
That's all I had.
that's something though, like scanning data ports, it wasn't able to do.
Oh, I don't know. Why would I scan a data port when I could just shoot it? That's what this thing's meant for.
Well, yeah, that's I'm with you, but some people were complaining about that. I don't know. There's lots of this just came out today, and they're still working out the bugs. So yeah, we'll have more information by next week. People are going to find all kinds of little hiccups, I'm sure, and what it can and can't do, and hopefully they just cave and give it to Horizons before next week.
That would be
Yeah,
nice.
we'll see. Maybe they'll cave and give Odyssey to consoles too.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Or
that'll
they'll
happen.
just give up altogether. Console? What's an Xbox?
That's
never,
a whole
never heard of it.
That's a whole other discussion that I want to have. If Trax isn't here, we're going to discuss whether they should keep pushing for consoles or abandon consoles.
Or just
We'll
give
end
up
the show on
altogether.
that. All right. Good night, everybody.